reading is a bit foreign to an African generally. Why? Because Africans tend to be an oral society from long time ago. Reading came with actually the West, when the colonizers, when they came in.
I would want to be a diplomat. That's why I love reading.
I've seen people going on TV, and because of that reading, they've been known worldwide. And I might say about reading when you're young, it creates a firm foundation in your English, and also it might help you, like the opportunities that come in school, and they happen once a lifetime.
In a world dominated by screens, notifications, and endless scrolling, the habit of reading continues to transform lives.
As I was walking around the shelves, I saw this beautiful book that has a lot of poems. And the most interesting things, the poems were actually written by a 4-year-old. Can you imagine that? I grew up as having a keen interest in reading. I remember that when I was very young, my mom was very big about promoting reading. That if you did something good, she would actually buy you a book. So I grew up with a love for reading. I was a very introverted child. And I think reading books, storybooks especially, allowed me to interact with the world in a different way where I didn't have to deal with people.
We are very much alive to the fact that we're in a digital age. And that is why the Kenya National Library went out of its way to set up a virtual library, because we realize people just don't read hard copies only.
As Kenya marks the National Reading Day, we celebrate the power of stories, the joy of learning, and the people who keep the culture of reading alive.
The National Reading Day is a day where we all come here to read storybooks and to have fun in the library. Not to play around, but to read and to understand something.
We want to capture people's stories, especially local authors, and even just the general public.
If you want to hide anything from an African, put it in a book. And so the National Read Aloud was born out of that saying. Because we want to prove to the world that if you hide anything in a book, Kenyan children will read.
What it means to me is an opportunity to make people aware of the importance of reading. I think it is a very crucial way for us to be able to move our country forward, move our economy forward, because if we have good ideas in our minds, we are able to bring those to life.
I know that our curriculum has a lot of reading, but reading for exams. And a lot of times this just takes the fun out of it. But I think that if we promote reading for pleasure among children especially, you are creating a lifelong habit.
The Kenya National Library Service has been a sanctuary for knowledge seekers, a home for imagination, and a bridge connecting generations through the written word.
Kenya National Library Service has the mandate of carrying out the National Library functions, which include setting standards and norms for the library sector. We also are the ones who advise, or we can capacity build the public libraries in the county. We are the ones who are tasked with issuing the international standard book numbers. We receive the legal deposits, the ones every publisher or author, when they write a book, they are required by law to deposit 2 copies with Kenya National Library Service, and it's for preservation purposes, so that maybe 100 years from now, your title can still be traced. It's for posterity, for the other generations.
I usually come here to the library 5 times a month, but sometimes I usually don't come, maybe because we're going to visit my grandparents.
Reading has been something that I've been doing since primary school. I've been coming to Kenya National Library since I was in primary school. My dad is one who brought me here. I think I was in class 6. That was about 30 years ago.
For many children, the journey into reading begins with a story that sparks curiosity and awakens imaginations.
Something else that I have realized with children, especially those who don't really have a good background in reading or a good attitude, is that once you interest them and then say, you know what, why don't you just go and find a book that works for you? I don't try to say, okay, no, books around science fiction are the best, or books around, what is your interest? Oh, I have an interest in sports. Find a book around sports. Oh, what is your interest? Oh, I love having nice hair. Oh, okay. There is actually a book I can recommend about the beautiful hairstyles. Oh, what is it? Oh, mine is about, fashion. I have a book because I read very widely as well. So I can always recommend a book that touches on what you want.
My parents noticed me and they really encourage me to read the book since they really want me to have a good future. So they usually buy for me. Let's say not every single time, but yeah, normally.
I love that it opens new worlds to me, and also how it creates it gives me a more realistic image of whatever is happening in the book, and also it also boosts my creativity and also my English.
It is much easier to inculcate a positive attitude to it. They already don't have a touch about, reading for exam, reading is boring. You actually have a chance to mold the child. And it's always recommended, can you start reading for children as soon as they're in your stomach? So when they're coming out, they have an idea of like listening and know how a story flows. When they're a few months old, instead of just putting them right there and say, hey, watch TV, just hold them from a book. They may not understand what exactly you're reading about, but they will associate reading and listening to pleasure.
Reading is not merely an academic exercise, but rather the foundation upon which all learning rests.
I believe reading has been fundamental in my life to be able to get me to where I am. As I said, I'm an engineer, so that involved a lot of studying. And even beyond my years of studying in school, I have found that on my own personally, I spend a lot of time reading and growing my mind, because that's the best way to empower ourselves.
As a library, we are big on promoting a reading culture, particularly among the young. And that explains why we have a lot of activities with primary school and high school, because we want that to start from that stage. If it is not inculcated at that stage, after that it becomes a bit difficult. I'm not saying it can't, it can, but it's harder.
We normally have library lessons on a daily basis because we are running from ECDE to JS. And we have days where we have the ECDE, like on Monday, they normally come here and we have their books there. We have quite a number of books which are for the ECDE. We also have some for primary, and Tuesdays and Wednesdays we have the primary section coming in. Then Thursdays and Fridays are meant for JS. When they get in, they normally have a reading pledge to just, boost help them remember what takes them there. Then from there, they have a silent reading of about 10 minutes, after which we have some learners narrating what they have learned or the stories that they have read. And apart from that, they also tell some of the words, the new words that they've learned, meaning it helps also in building the vocabulary of these children. So after that, sometimes we normally have a teacher having introductions of anagram challenge, which also build on the spelling of words.
Behind every thriving reading culture are people who dedicate their lives to ensuring that books remain accessible to everyone.
They find me here, so I usually keep the books in order
When you come and pick the book, you return the book where you found it. And I also keep records of the book. So even if you borrow a book, I will record it, I give you a timeline, and then you return the book. So books are not getting lost.
Most times when I actually go and meet the children or the young people, I don't even introduce the book angle. Because the moment you say read from a book, they'll be like, oh yeah, another lecture, another class setting. Be like, you know what? We're here to have fun. And I'll share the story, we'll sing together, I'll ask questions, they will participate. And if the story is actually from a published book, then I will tell them, okay, so how was that? Do you know that you can actually find this story in a book? And initially there was a lot of, no, books, that story is very interesting, don't think you can find it in a book. And that's why I always tell them that, no, the story, that what you can do is you can actually make the story interesting. And now I do a lot of book weeks, I do a lot of reading festivals, I do a lot of literacy festivals, and it's always a joy. Anytime, whether I'm going to a school or a festival that has something around reading or a library week, they know that Wangara the storyteller coming in is not just going to be another reading, it's actually going to be a huge experience.
In our school we have parental involvement. And in terms of storybooks, when we open schools at the beginning of the year, every child must come with a storybook. They come with those books, the storybooks that needs to their level. Like if they are going to the next grade, they will come with grade 3 storybooks.
There's nothing like I write for children. Which children are you writing for? What age group are you writing for? A book that is written for a 5-year-old is different from a book that is targeting a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. So, the language. As much as most of us writers are very well read, it is not a time to show off how much English or Swahili or whatever language you're writing in is, because even you as an adult, if you have to read with a dictionary next to you, how much fun is that going to be? So also picture in mind who you're writing for. So if you're writing for younger children, of course, nice pictures to go along with the text. If you're writing for older children, they're able to focus a bit more. They're able to imagine a bit more, so a bit more text. But I'm a big advocate for writing in a context that the children you're writing for understand.
The beauty of reading is that it knows no age limit. Whether young or old, every book holds the power to teach, inspire, and transform.
It is not just for school. In fact, just read for entertainment, read for information, read for knowledge. Even if it is digitally accessed, it's still okay, as long as you are getting some information into your brain.
I read both of the Kiswahili and English books. They help me in literature a lot, and also in Kiswahili we call it fasihi. It helps me build my language and all of that.
When I saw the advantages of the time I spent gathering knowledge through reading, what it did for me from a school perspective, I then started reading for my own personal knowledge. And I started seeing a lot of advantages from that, even when I was interacting with my friends, in terms of the amount of knowledge that you have and that you're able to share with others. And now that led to that habit of reading becoming a long-term habit that has become part of my character now.
Yet, for many children, access to books remains a challenge. Across the country, individuals and organizations are stepping in to ensure that every child has an opportunity to read.
I read books from the library, but the resources are limited. Not every book I've read, but also there are some books that maybe I'm interested with them and I don't have them and they are not in the library, so my parents bring for me.
We normally have children coming to read under these trees. Sometimes it becomes a challenge, and especially when the weather is not conducive. Maybe when it's raining, children might not be able to be around, so they have to get storybooks from the library, run back to class, and that makes the library lesson. Now we waste a lot of time. So if we would really get somebody who would help us at least build a library for us, we'll be very, very happy.
Interacting with the public primary schools, we realize that there's an infrastructure gap where schools do not have rooms where we can say these are made for library, because our model says no construction, but the school needs to have a space where we refurbish, put up shelves and paint, and put the books, and then children can access.
We got it in the month of February this year, so it has not taken long, and they brought it with 1,000 books. Since then, we also had another program which is called KPIL. They added us 1,700 books. So in total already we have 2,700 books in that container, which is has really a great impact on our learners.
National Reading Day is more than a celebration of books. It is a reminder that reading builds knowledge, nurtures creativity, and empowers communities.
Having a reading week in Kenya was a really great idea. I think it's only been there for a few years, not for very long. What I've loved is to see different organizations, different institutions actually taking it up. I remember initially when it was happening, it was mostly the national libraries that were doing this. Now I'm seeing even schools adopting that. I think that's a really great thing. What I would love to see more, and I think this cuts across not just during the reading week, but across all our schools, all our libraries, is to see reading in different and diverse languages being pushed. Right now, a lot of times when you say reading, honestly, it's mostly English that is being pushed. Most of the books we have in the bookshops are in English. And you can see the results of this, that in our children, not just in public schools, but also in private schools, international schools, all of them, ukimuuliza nasema, Kiswahili ni ngumu. But why is Kiswahili ngumu, and yet it is one of the languages that is spoken widely in this country?
Our libraries have both English and Kiswahili storybooks. A bigger percentage is in English and a smaller percentage in Kiswahili. Why so? Because most of the learning areas in schools, 90% of them are taught in English. That means they need to conceptualize this language. So we give them a bigger percentage for them to understand this language. And Kiswahili, because one is our national language, so we need to take pride of that. But second, because we have a learning area that is taught in Kiswahili. We don't put indigenous content. One, because we work with public primary schools in Kenya, and because these children, immediately they leave home and they come to school. Whether you are in ECD or grade 9, the books are written in English. So we want to give them an opportunity to undo the indigenous language and now get into a school setup and interact with content that is aligned with the curriculum and also the language that they are taught in.
It would also be really great to be more inclusive in terms of the reading experiences. For instance, what happens to our readers who would love to read but are visually challenged? And I know, because I've done read alouds, that we try to inculcate this in schools that have visually impaired learners. It's really, really expensive to get books in Braille. And I remember that year when we were doing it, we managed to get, I think, an organization that said, okay, the extract is 1 page, we are going to translate it into Braille. And it was really big. So I know that is one challenge.
We usually talk with my friends about books, sometimes, not all the time. But mostly it's about comic books, and usually exchange, like for them to go through it and read it most of the time, yeah.
As the pages turn today, may we all rediscover the simple joy of reading and commit ourselves to raising a generation that reads, dreams, and leads. Because every great journey begins with a single page.
Reading is cool. Kusoma ni poa.